What is up, everyone? It's Kanan,
It's Jessie.
and we're the Geeky Sane couple back with another RWBY video. Remember, if you enjoy our videos, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, and leave us a comment. So, we're pretty much back with our RWBY What If series. This is episode 2, though I don't think I'm going to put, or we're going to put episode numbers on these just because it's kind of its own separate thing. If you've not seen the first episode, it was what if Blake had stayed instead of running at the end of Volume 3. And this video, it's going to be Blake once again. And that is, what if Blake never left the White Fang? And that already raises a lot of questions. Would she still have went to Beacon? And if she did, how? Would she still have met Ruby, Weiss, and Yang? Would she be their enemy? Like, how would it affect everything? And I think out of a lot of alternate universe fan fictions that I've seen, this is one of the most popular. It's usually White Fang Blake and Bandit Yang, which that's next week's episode. We're going to be covering what if Yang had been raised by Raven, which will be very interesting. It'll pretty much be Yang with a meaner streak, which really that's kind of going to be the Blake in this. That's the fun about what ifs. You can, if you want to, you can change things in canon. You can change a character a little bit. You can make them a little bit more cold and stuff like that. Not exactly how they are in the main show. So yeah, first we're going to talk about how Blake's character would be in this certain what if scenario. And as a really huge Blake fan, I'm guessing you may have some little ideas how she would be, because it seems like there's a lot of characters you do like that are kind of the ones that have a wall of ice around them, like Lightning and Raven and stuff like that. So I'm just guessing that this version of Blake, even though a lot of people say that she was kind of a loner in a lot of, Crow made the joke of her being, did he call her goth? I forgot.
I think it was emo.
Emo, yeah. Yeah, he did call her emo. So, this version of Blake, I'm guessing, would be way more antisocial in a way. Like, she would not really care much about making friends if she didn't. I'm guessing she would already be friends with Ilya, but other than that, she wouldn't have a very big friend circle, I don't think.
No, I mean, before she had come to Beacon, she really didn't either, so that wouldn't really change. It would be more in depth of she wouldn't even try.
Yeah. Now here's one thing we've got to go ahead and take care of, and it could be a factor depending on which way we decide to go in this, because it kind of factors in why Blake would remain to stay in the White Fang. Are Gira and Callie still alive?
I mean,
because if they're not, it's going to change volumes 4 and 5 very largely. If they're still alive, 4 and 5 can, for the most part, stay the same. So we've got to establish that early.
Dead.
Okay. So if you ask me, this version of Blake is... I don't want to say Blake in canon was not dedicated to the movement of the White Fang. She just didn't like that they went a more violent route. This version of Blake really didn't mind the more violent tactics, but she's still not a cold-blooded killer. She's not going to kill somebody just for the heck of it. So that's why this version of Blake, while she is still 100% committed to the White Fang, Adam's tactics still scare her. So in this version, Blake is so antisocial that this version of Blake didn't even date Adam. She sees dating and romance as a distraction to the cause, to the mission. She barely, like we said a minute ago, she barely even makes friends because they're a distraction. She just became friends with Ilya because they went on so many missions together.
I still, in this version, don't see her being more okay with the violent turn they took. I still think that she would be in it because she still believes in the original vision of the White Fang.
Well, that's the fun thing about these what ifs. You can tweak characters.
I still don't see it either way.
Because they don't have to be the exact character they are in canon. This version of Blake is so driven and so successful in getting missions done that she climbs up the ranks and pretty much becomes like a right hand to Sienna. And that also
could save Sienna.
Well, not really going that way, but this is one way that Adam does not like Blake. He's jealous of her success. Whereas in the DC comics, we kind of learned that a lot of that Adam got a lot of his comrades killed. I believe that's what it was, even though he was kind of responsible for it. And that's what's tarnished his reputation in this version. He's gotten so many White Fang members killed because of his own recklessness that in this timeline, it's not raised him up the ranks like it did in the show. In this one, it's kind of kept him down as a grunt almost, where Blake is the one that has raised. So in this version, Sienna becomes kind of suspicious of the leaders of the academies. So she has agents planted in each school except one, and that being Beacon. And that's because Ozpin being Ozpin is a little too, he's not a spring chicken as far as, knowing what's going on in his school. So, we already know Ironwood is so blinded by everything that he would probably not notice someone being an agent under his nose. Osmond would be the
only one that would be more suspicious because of the lifetimes of things he knows.
The only one we can't say for sure is the one in Vacuo, because we've not 100% met them yet. They're mentioned in the novels, but there's not enough there to be like, oh, they would be easy to plant an agent and them not know. But I think out of all of them, Ozpin would definitely know, so it's been very hard for Sienna to get someone in. But she's never had someone as gifted and good as Blake. So she tasks Blake with going in as a huntress in training to learn whatever she can, what Ozpin is hiding at Beacon. So, in a way, from then on, it kind of plays off the same way. Blake shows up at Beacon, but unlike in the show where, let's admit, Blake was kind of antisocial in a lot of ways, she's even worse so here. When she meets Ruby and Yang, she's not very open to talk with them because, she's there on a mission. She doesn't really want to talk with... She wants to talk with as less humans as she has to, but the same thing happens. They go through the Emerald Forest. She ends up paired with Yang, and she ends up as a member of Team RWBY, which is still technically part of the plan. That's her mission, is to do that. So the question is, do we still do the story at the end of Volume 1 where she learns that the White Fang is working with Roman? And technically, yes, you can. And that is because during her time at Beacon, she's been sending reports to Sienna, but guess who's been intercepting them and reading them first before they get to Sienna? Adam. And so Adam is kind of, once again, growing his little group of people who thinks he would be a better leader than Sienna. And so you can still do the whole attack on Beacon because he's working with Roman.
That would still also fit the scenario that I put of, Blake's in there rising to still fight for the original reason the White Fang was even formed, which Sienna still has part of that. Yeah. She's just gotten more ruthless with it, but she still wasn't killing innocent people like Adam was. So,
Yeah.
there was a difference.
Well,
She
Adam was also
stuff.
killing Faunus that got in his
Yes,
way.
so Sienna wasn't doing that. She just got a little more violent to take what she wanted, but she wasn't just killing innocent people in villages. Yeah. So there's a huge difference. So you could still play that out also with Blake following the original reason for the White Fang and what they're really fighting for. So it really would add to more of Adam as well.
Not to say this version of Blake's hands aren't clean. This version of Blake more than likely has killed before, but it's either been in self-defense or it was a dangerous target to the White Fang that, Sienna herself may have told her, go be my assassin. Which, Assassin Blake sounds pretty cool if you ask me. But, pretty much plays out. The whole Blake getting outed as a member of the White Fang does not happen in this version. I don't even know if they would learn she's a Faunus, because this version of Blake is way more cunning, way more better at covering her tracks. Ruby and the others would just think that she got wrapped up in the stuff at the was it the docks where they fought?
I think so.
Roman, yeah, that she just got wrapped up in it. The one member of Team RWBY though at this point in the story where her thoughts on would be very, very negative is of course Weiss, because Weiss is the heiress to the Schnee Dust Company, a company that is very well known to use Faunus as indentured labor. So her relationship with Weiss, sadly, is never good during the Beacon arc. We do know in the original show that her and Weiss did, start to understand each other, because that was part of Weiss's arc of changing along with Blake's. But in this version, no, they don't like each other. Blake just sees Weiss as a Schnee, and that's it. And there are some points where Blake is like, I can't wait to turn on you, wait to see the look on your face when it happens. But Sienna and Blake do not know about what Adam is doing, which of course you've got Cinder and all that going on. That still is happening. So the Vital Festival comes, and the problem now is that Blake is starting to care about the people she's met. She, in this version, the criticism that her and Ruby don't talk a whole lot would probably be even worse, just because Blake just doesn't talk to much people. But she likes Ruby. She thinks Ruby is a good kid, has got a good head on her shoulder. This version of Blake would be way more annoyed with Sun's antics. I didn't really have time to put together how this version of Blake would see Sun. Deep down, she may resent him because he's a Faunus that's not fighting for the cause or something like that. Or she just may be annoyed with him like she was in the show. The only one that she has really come to like and trust is, of course, Yang, because that's part, it's really hard to change that outlook in the show, even in a what-if standard. And I mean, yeah, we could easily say, yeah, she hates Yang, she'll never like Yang, but we still have to get from point A to point B for this still to work. So the Vital Festival comes and goes. The same stuff pretty much happens. I don't think there was anything in Volume 3 as far as Blake would go. And I mean, she's still bothered by the White Fang working with Roman, and she's sent reports to Sienna saying, why is the White Fang working with humans? And she never gets an answer, because at this point, Adam is not just intercepting the letters before they get to Sienna. They're not getting to Sienna at all. He's keeping them. And so the attack on Beacon happens, and it pretty much plays out the same way. Like, she's, what is going on? And seeing all this needless death and destruction, even though very much in this case it's not Blake's fault, because this wasn't the plan. It was never Sienna's plan to attack Beacon. Mm-hmm. She just wanted to know what Ozpin was up to. And so the same thing happens. Yang loses her arm protecting Blake. Blake blames herself, so she leaves. But in this version, when Yang wakes up and let's say something happened during the attack that, one of the students overheard that Blake was a member of the White Fang and she was a spy or whatever. It could have been Sun who heard it because, that's how they found out that Blake ran was from Sun. So let's just say it was Sun in this case. And Yang is furious, way more furious than she was at the ending of Volume 3. Like, Blake lied to them, which in a way she kind of did. She betrayed them. For all they know, she was responsible for the attack happening. Yang is just, her eyes are not only red, they're deep blood red. But after that, pretty much the same stuff happens. RWBY goes on her journey. Weiss is back in Atlas. Yang is at home recovering. And Blake, deciding that it might be too dangerous to try and get back to Sienna, goes to Menagerie. Now, whether Sun goes with her, I'm not really sure in this, because learning that she was a member of the White Fang the whole entire time, I just don't know if Sun really would have risked it, or if he had wanted to. So, I'm going to say in this version, he doesn't. So, she goes home, and the same stuff pretty much plays out, though her parents play a slightly bigger role in helping her, not blame herself. Because really, it was not Blake's fault, even in this version, that it happened. Like we said, she wasn't sent there to set up an attack on Beacon. She was just sent there to spy. And then, Ilya shows up, why haven't you come back to, because Sienna's wanting to hear from you. And Blake just saying, I'm just not ready right now. I want to just see my parents and just rest, recuperate. And Sienna gets the news of this, and Sienna's okay with it. But Adam also learns about it, and same thing. He sends Corsic and Fennec to try and kill the Belladonnas. It gets thwarted, of course, thanks to Ilya and Blake. And they learn about the attack on Haven. Blake, on the other hand, though, doesn't know what to do at this point. She's like, do I just not go back and see Sienna, or do I stop Adam at Haven? But in the end, she does decide to go and report to Sienna.
In this version, I don't see, like I said, I don't see Sienna actually dying in this one, because she...
Well, we were getting to that. But go ahead.
No, just continue.
Well, I was going to say, I know the time placement is a bit off, but like I said, this is a what if. You can make the timeline as much as you want. In this version, she arrives before Adam and Hazel do. So, Sienna's still alive at this point. She finally tells Sienna everything that happened. At that point, she had only heard small reports and all that, but wanted a report from someone who was actually there, someone who she could trust. And Blake tells you, yes, Adam went behind your back. He teamed up with humans to attack Beacon. It's because of him I didn't learn everything I could, blah blah blah. And that's when Adam and Hazel show up. Adam tries some way to try and make it Blake's fault. So in this, I was wondering if either Blake just somehow saves Sienna, or instead of Adam even getting the chance to kill Sienna, Blake challenges him because he questioned her role in Beacon, all that, trying to turn on her with her being a higher ranking person within the White Fang.
It could go either way, but I really do see Blake somehow playing a role, even if it is saving her. Like, he could go to attack her, and she could pretty much ambush his attack so that it doesn't work.
Okay, let's go with this. Blake tells Sienna what happened at Beacon. Adam's, teamed up with humans to bring down Beacon, blah, blah, blah. And it's hard to say. Like, what if somehow Sienna just gets an inkling now that if he went that far, he may be trying to take control away from her, and so her life may be in danger. So what if the version of Sienna that he stabs is actually no, I don't think it works that way because Blake can't make other people out of her clones, can she?
She'd have to be standing there unless she was standing, because we've seen her do it with Yang.
Yeah.
She could be standing behind her and you wouldn't see her.
Yeah. Let's just say somehow Blake's semblance plays into it, and
Like I said, similar to when she picked up Yang and she disappeared.
yeah.
She left that staying there. I bet if she stood enough behind Sienna where you couldn't see her, she could leave that carbon copy of her there and move.
Plus, I'm sure Ilya would play a role. I'm just not sure. But thanks to that, his plot to assassinate Sienna is exposed, and Blake and Ilya take care of the members within the throne room that were going to side with Adam. And Hazel, I'm out. He just leaves because
I see, like,
he didn't want anyone to die there anyway. So maybe
I could also see, like, just because of what.
and maybe he still had his talk with Sienna, and she told him no.
But I could see after that point of her, her life being in danger, she could possibly, just because the way that the situation has worked out at this point, Blake could have told her, go back to my parents.
Yeah.
Because at the way this would be, since they would play a bigger role, she could go back to try to rework things since Adam's made a mess of the White Fang.
Yeah.
So it also put Sienna a bit more back on track of trying to really rebuild the White Fang the way it should be, while still achieving everything that they want and cleaning up what Adam has already started. So that way it would separate the traitors out of the White Fang. But her safe place would definitely be going back to Menagerie with Callie and Gira.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I see this scenario playing out. That would be a best safe place for her.
For Sienna to go there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, before she heads off, she leaves Ilya with the job of clearing out, finding out who these traitors are so they can start cleaning them out. Meanwhile, since she has learned about the attack on Haven, before they exposed Adam, and with Hazel being there, she tells Blake, go to Haven and make sure that there's no way that this can be blamed on the White Fang, even though the White Fang is personally not going to be there. She's paranoid that they have whoever Adam was conspiring with would have something to incriminate the White Fang. So that's how Blake ends up at Haven, and that's how she ends up seeing Ruby, Weiss, and Yang again. Though Yang is not happy to see her. Now, I'm not saying Yang would attack her, but Yang would not be happy. She would be way more unhappy than she was in the show. Ruby is like, let her explain. Even Weiss at this point is like, let her tell us her side. But Yang's like, how can we even trust what she says? Now, but Blake is over at this point, so she just tells them, hey, this is what I was doing. I was only there to spy for the White Fang. I was never part of the attack. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just want to help my people, And
I can also see, like, how she had, started growing to care for the people that, that she met and the friends she was making. What could play a role into that as well is that she was learning that before, she didn't learn it enough before she would consider it when she ran.
Yeah.
So at this point, she'd need to see more, but she started seeing before she ran, okay, well, they want to help humans and Faunus.
Yeah.
They don't care, minus Weiss, because that's how she was looking at her, and obviously she didn't look into it enough to see that Weiss was changing, but she didn't see that, and think about, hey, maybe they actually do care that and would fight for both sides, because it's, pretty much a living being, fight for everybody to be equal. But in Blake's mindset back in Beacon, she wouldn't have seen that, so yes, she would have ran. So this could be her side to tell that, and Yang could say, why didn't you just talk to us then?
Yeah.
Because this would have been a lot different.
Well, at this point, Yang's not even thinking that.
No, but at some point, she will, think, tell her, you should have just talked to us.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. And it's for that very reason that Ruby and Weiss convince Blake to go to Atlas with them. because they're trying to save everyone, and she decides to. She finds a way to let Sienna and Ilya know where she's going, which she kind of knows she can kind of do this because she's that far up in the White Fang. Where at this point, Sienna's just gonna be like, okay, go find out what you can. And
this also would have been when Sienna would have gone back.
Yeah.
To the Belladonnas.
Yeah. So
to pretty much rethink things.
Yeah. So pretty much Volume 6 kind of happens the way it is. Yang is does not trust Blake at all. Blake understands, but she's in the mindset, start over. Let them learn the real me, But during that time, and see, we didn't really clarify what happened to Adam. Sienna didn't have him executed or anything. He was just imprisoned, but of course he breaks out. He wants revenge on Blake. And pretty much Volume 6 plays out the way it does. Yang does help Blake fight Adam, though I don't think their interaction at the end of that fight would be as close as it was. If you're worried about Bumblebee, it's still going to happen in this timeline, but let's just say it would probably be an even slower burn at this point, because Blake's got to earn Yang's trust again. Yang's got to learn this whole new Blake that she never knew, because Blake was kind of, she was a spy. So she was kind of being...
And that she can trust, the real parts of the White Fang that aren't killing just random innocent people just for what they want. There's a difference between the White Fang, the corrupted White Fang, and what half Blake is on.
Yeah.
So, she's also got to learn that. Which, obviously, RWBY, I see more open to learning. It's just, but she knows she can't force Yang to turn around and say, this part, they're not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've done some not so nice things, but they're not bad compared to,
It would also probably be around this time that Blake would apologize to Weiss, saying how she used to think about her, but can now see that she is actually not like the other Schnees and actually does have a heart. Little Tin Man thing there. And in this version, Blake cuts her hair before the events of Volume 7. It's just like in the original show, it's a fresh start for this. She cuts it off, showing this is the real me, no more secrets, pretty much reintroduces herself to the group. And Volume 7 pretty much happens the same way, though I think this version of Blake would be way more outspoken of what she was seeing in Mantle. And there's not really much you can change in Volume 7 or 8 because of the overall story. I'm sure Blake would probably still be sending some kind of messages to Sienna, but then, once things went dark in Atlas, there's not really much she could do, and so things pretty much play out the same way. And then we're at Volume 9, where... Now, here's the thing. By Volume 8, I think the relationship between Yang and Blake would be a bit better, but probably still not as close as they are currently in the show. When Yang fell in this version of Volume 8, I think Blake would still kind of have the same reaction, because in this version of Blake's mind, she's conflicted. She's dedicated her whole life to the White Fang, and she doesn't want to give it up, but she's got growing feelings for someone now, and also that person is a human, so she's just she's full of conflict right now, and don't really know how that would translate to, say, Volume 9, because we've not seen it yet. We won't see that till next year. But as far as Bumblebee goes, her and Yang will still end up together. It's going to be a little bit more of a rocky road there. Her and Weiss are at least on friend terms. They've got to mend as well, because remember, in the Beacon arc in this version, Blake did not like Weiss at all. She did not give Weiss the time of day. This would have been the two who literally really argued every day, and not like just argue among friends, like screaming, yelling at each other almost. Ruby, her relationship with Ruby would be pretty much the same as in the show. She respects Ruby. At first, she thought Ruby was just a kid, but now, she
sees that Ruby really is smart and
Yeah.
a natural, pretty much a natural born leader.
Yeah. Jean and the others, she thinks they're funny. But yeah, like I said, there's not much to change in 7 and 8 because stuff just like 7 and 8 were just so one beat after the other, just built the tension for the main story that there's not really a lot to build on because they were both so main story focused. We may touch upon this again once Volume 9 airs, depending on what happens in that volume.
Another thing that could change, at least, and it would put Bumblebee a little bit ahead at this point towards into 9, but there could have been a point where her and Yang they did start their talk.
Oh yeah, in this version they definitely would have had a moment where they sat down and talked things out.
But the thing is they probably, to me, they would have talked out at least quite a bit, but because of everything suddenly happening in Atlas and everything going dark, they wouldn't have been able to finish their talk, which would also lead to Blake having still conflicting thoughts, but it would still lead to her reacting the same way because she never got to finish talking and work out those conflicting things and the feelings that are growing that she really doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Because that would still leave that shocked reaction and her want to find her again.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you've also got to think, in this version of Blake, she's falling in love with someone that's part of a group that has never treated her people nicely at all. There are people who do treat the Faunas just
not
just
them
great.
personally, but like
as an in general thing. Like, she's a member of the White Fang. How would Sienna and all the others react if they found out?
And she was also learning, like at that point in time again, learning that her team really didn't care what she was, what she was a part of. They were going to fight for everybody.
Yeah.
And she was just learning that, so that would lead to some still slight confliction there.
There may have been more confliction if they had found out in the earlier volumes, but just because of how the characters were at that time. But, by the events of, say, 6, 7, and 8, the characters have grown so much and have matured so much that they would think differently, and they've seen so much. They've got this over-looming threat of Salem, so really the last thing they are really going to dwell on is that their friend is a member of a Faunus group that is kind of known for some questionable things, but at this
fighting for rights.
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah, and when I say questionable, I meant like the violence and all that. But at this point in the story, while Sienna is at the Belladonnas, it's pretty much the build-up of slightly what they've hinted at in the show now is that, Ilya told us that Gira was forming a new movement. So while she is at the Belladonnas, her, Callie, and Gira
are reworking
everything.
Which is why I said that she would be her being alive would definitely be a key role to going back into a safe place with them, so they could, okay, we need to change everything that you're starting already and start over.
Plus,
we need to make this better.
Sienna shouldn't have died so soon.
No.
But yeah, like Adam's attempt at an insurrection opened her eyes a lot, that she wasn't in control as much as she thought she was. So that would lead to that.
Yeah, now reworking things to rebuild a different thing, especially since now they really do need to change and work together. And they're also seeing that because of everything they're learning from, up until then, they can see it in Atlas.
Yeah.
So.
And then when they get the, Ruby and them's, signal of what's going on, because, in the show, we saw that Ilya was starting to get a call from Gira, which leads us to believe that maybe this new White Fang is going to be heading, or was going to attempt to head to Atlas. Same thing here. They get that message, and they're, Sienna's like, okay, we need to head to Atlas, But
which obviously would get railroaded at this point, and
Yeah.
then they would see, okay, well, the only other place that we need to go now,
Is
we need to
Vacuo.
go to Vacuo then.
Yeah.
Because seeing Atlas wiped out means they need to shift gears and get ahead of the game moving to Vacuo, which that's another thing I thought of outside of this, what if? Yeah, it goes into theory territory, but it would still work in this either as well. All the other groups in the area that they were probably coming to Atlas to help, even ones we didn't see, they'll obviously quickly probably hear about the fall of Atlas and think, all right, we need to go and protect Vacuo then.
Yeah.
So all of those groups are probably going to start heading to Vacuo ahead of everybody else, which would be a nice change since lately all the enemies have already been in place before the our side got there. So it would kind of make sense.
Yeah.
I know that goes into theory territory of actually what's currently happening, but it still works in this timeline too.
Yeah. So really that's about all we've got. So I mean, at the beginning, Blake would have been more cold, way more antisocial, not really a people person, which a lot of people would say that she already wasn't. But think about like times 5. Sienna would still be alive, at least this point in the story. And of course, Bumblebee, not quite, where they are in the show, but they would be getting there. And at this point, Blake would still be feeling like she has to still prove herself in a way that they can count on her and all that.
9 in this timeline could be a key to ignite Bumblebee to actually go forward more.
Depending on what we see in the other world in Volume 9. Yeah, so I wished it was out now so we could do some theories with that. But we just don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if they're going to see the ghosts of the past or what. But, so yeah, that's really all we've got. I wish I knew the names of some of the stories I've read about White Fang Blake and Bandit Yang, but they're very easy to find. They're really entertaining to read. But, yeah, please remember these are simply what-ifs, so you can always change the timeline. You can change how a character's personality is. Like, who knows, Bandit Yang could have been just as ruthless as Raven can be, which, I mean, that's the fun of what-ifs. Trust me, if this was tame compared to some of the stuff I've heard that actually takes place in the Marvel what-if, I've heard some, like after you watch it, you want to watch like the Owl House to make yourself happy. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button. As always, guys, I'm Kanan.
This is Jessie.
We love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.